There are 4 key concepts I want to talk through before we dive into your questions and comments. And these 4 ideas, they serve as the foundation for how I approach the application of AI in the workplace. So whenever I'm working on an AI related project, whether it's building technology, talking about strategy, implementing different types of technology, this is how I think about AI. Number 1, we don't get to decide if we're going to use AI, specifically as learning and development. So when we say AI, first of all, the level set, we're generally talking about the theory and development of computer systems to be able to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. So AI is this buzzy term. I don't think anyone really looks at it as artificial intelligence, but that's the word that people use. That's the letters that people use. So we're talking about a computer's ability to perform tasks that typically humans would perform. Number 2, we're operating right now what I refer to as a liminal space. So we're in this transition moment. We're on the threshold. We're on the verge. We're riding an escalator right now. We don't know what's at the top of the escalator, and it's uncomfortable, right? We don't know exactly what our function's becoming. We don't know where our role is potentially heading, depending on what you do in L&D. And that's why if you read any article, you listen to any thought leader around L&D and AI, they say things like what the tech will be able to do, because we've never been here before. We don't know exactly where we're going. But today, we have to have these conversations so we can start to find the value in the noise. And I like to liken where we are today to when the iPhone dropped in 2007. If you were around, you remember how many apps you used to go get and how many different applications that were very specific and very nuanced. And you had dozens or hundreds of apps on your phone. And then over time, we came to rely on a set of core applications that kind of took care of the key pieces of what we need to live our lives through technology. That's kind of we're in that transitional moment. We're in the beginning of the App Store where there are just these ridiculous applications all over the place and we don't know what's real and what's valuable and what's just hype. That's where we are right now. But that's why right now is an important time for experimentation and education. So what I recommend to every team out there is that you make time to have this conversation within your team, within your organization, and make time for learning about this. One of the worst jokes in L&D is that we don't make time for our own learning and development. This is a time where we need to start doing that and start exploring what these tools can do for us and questioning where do they fit within what our organization needs us to do to help people do their best work. So we're in an uncomfortable moment right now in this kind of liminal intermediary space, but this is a time for learning and conversation before decisions get made without us taking part. Number 3, AI will redefine workplace learning. This is a meaningful change. So I don't believe this is just another tool that we're going to use to do our jobs more effectively. Often the biggest problem with L&D is that, our tools are over there and the work takes place over there. And AI is going to accelerate that consolidation and make learning part of work in meaningful ways. So to show you a quick visual on what do I mean by how AI is going to transform what learning and development is in the workplace. So here's a very rough representation of today, right? Learning and development playing kind of the middle person role. Where on the left, you have the people who are providing expertise and information, subject matter experts, management, executives, HR, project leaders, all of these different folks. On the right, you have the audience, different groups within the workforce. In the middle sits learning and development. And yes, there are back channels. People can go around us in various ways to provide information and training directly to audiences without our support. Maybe the audience is using open source materials or generating their own content. But generally speaking, we sit in between the people who know and the people who need. Number 4, values are more important than features in this conversation. And I think that's a critical thing that we often miss when it comes to tech and L&D and broadly in the organization is we get distracted by what technology can do. We have a legacy of, again, allowing technology to happen around us and to us, but it's not about what the tech can do. It's about how tech helps people do the job because people are solving the problems, not technology. So when we make decisions based on features, based on bells and whistles, we end up with a lot of white space. We get distracted by what technology can do, and we make decisions without having a core set of values to guide that decision-making. So that's why I think right now it is critical for us as L&D to work with our peers within our organizations to determine what are the guiding values we're going to use to make decisions when it comes to how AI is applied and how AI informs the experience of work.